Hi, welcome to the Village of Buchanan, March 25th workshop meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've got a busy agenda here this evening, so we're going to start with the update on the wading pool. So if you can come up to the podium, thank you.
How you doing tonight? All right. I had given Marcus copies of the current working plans. Have you all had a chance to take a look at those? And okay.
It was difficult to see on, we have the printout now, but it was difficult to see on the email.
Okay. It's the pool that we last reviewed. We fleshed it out, but the wet area of the pool is 20 feet wide by 27 feet in length with the beach entry in it. I've now got all of the plumbing in there, all the fittings, the mechanical room has been designed, all the equipment has been selected. So the recirculation system and the design of the pool are pretty well complete up to health department standards. We had previously talked about possibly incorporating features in the pool. I don't know if the board has given that any further consideration. We can do that. As of now, I do not have any features in the pool. In Westchester, any pool that has any type of feature, you have to include a UV system. So the minimum add-on for the UV system installed would be roughly $30,000.
That's for the system itself.
Just for an accessory to be allowed to have a feature.
Okay.
Then you add the feature on top of that.
That's what I'm saying. So it's 30,000 just for the system and then another charge for the feature.
For the feature itself, yes.
Okay.
All right. So the features, I discussed with Marcus today. I mean, saying we want a feature, it's kind of like saying we want a shirt. There are millions of choices. You've all been to water parks of some type, I'm sure. So they have the simple little, just a spray that comes out of the ground. They have the waist high where it shoots a little bit of water, or they have the 7 or 8 foot high, like a mushroom or the dumping buckets or something like that. Obviously the bigger features, bigger price tag. Along with the cost of the feature, there's the plumbing and then the equipment that would be needed to support it. If you went with something on the larger side, the mushroom is one of the most expensive. You'd probably be $60,000, $70,000 for the mushroom. And that's in addition to the cost for the UV system. If we did something smaller, the sprays that come out of the ground, we could probably do that for more $10,000 to $15,000 plus the UV. Or you don't have to have anything if you don't want to. So hopefully tonight you're able to give a little direction on what you would like to see. I don't expect a final answer, but if we can narrow it down, little feature, middle size, big, I can get some information together to give you some choices. But I didn't want to give you choices on each and find out you didn't want anything. Just trying to streamline a little bit.
You had mentioned the last time, like a wall and like a little waterfall that sprayed over.
We can do that. It would be right under the lip of the coping. It's just a small waterfall. It can be anywhere in width from 3 feet to 12 to 15 feet. And it's just the 6-inch drop from underneath the coping into the pool. It wouldn't be an elevated wall. It would just be from the wall of the pool.
And a rough guesstimate of what I know you mentioned it before, but just as we're looking at the project now, rough guesstimate of what it's looking like.
For the overall project?
Yeah.
We're around the 250 range.
No, that includes the plumbing and no UV system in the filter or the.
No UV and nothing with the feature.
250 as is.
Correct.
And that
would
includes
not-
your engineering fees and everything, all
well,
that
that,
included.
the only other thing that would not be included would be the structure
Mhm.
for the mechanical shed. You know, but
That
everything.
could be
pool,
anything.
it could be whatever you want, whether we
Okay.
just get a prefab Amish type shed
Yeah.
or you want to build a block building.
Okay.
I mean, I think we should think about some type of, maybe not the mushroom, but something else in there, because fortunately for us, right now, we have about 200,000 in a recreation fund, so we're not, you know, we're not that out there that crazy. And then we should have some recreation money coming from development too. But I don't know, what's the board think? Do you think some type of a little water spray or something additional?
That's what I was thinking, something for the children to be entertained once they're in the pool. Otherwise, it's just a pool with a little bit of water for them.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I would think a feature would be necessary.
All right. And do you want to go for a full, like, a 7 or 8 foot high, or do you want to get something smaller? When you do the bigger, your pool is only going to be 20 feet wide. So a bigger feature would take up a substantial portion.
And smaller might accommodate children of all ages that would be in the pool, correct?
Correct.
Well, I personally too, I think we should include the rec committee in offering some feedback on what they think.
They were invited, some could not attend.
Okay.
One said he would try to make it, but he hasn't been able to arrive yet. But they were invited.
But we're filming, so, you know, they'll be able to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're,
So,
if you're able to even just say,
But
you
I can
know,
reach out to them.
either a ground spray or a small feature, I can get some catalog information over to Marcus and you
okay,
That
you
would
can
be
flip
helpful.
through it with the recreation
think- I think-
committee
yeah,
as you have time.
yeah, I think that would be helpful.
I agree. Agree.
Okay.
I don't think we do this without a feature.
I
Um,
can see
I
that.
don't, it doesn't make any sense. You know,
All this, yeah.
I
could
think
do- we
that
could
we
do-
do it, the best that we can.
Okay.
Me, I would go for the mushroom.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's the best feature we give, and we're only doing this once. And to plumb it in now would be the right way to do it.
Well, the good thing about the mushroom too, I think, is when you're up there, right, there's not a lot of shade, right? So if it's a really hot day and those kids are in the water, you know, the mushroom can kind of give them a place to kind of
And
get
it's
out of the
good-
sun a little bit,
yeah.
right? And it's, you know, it's kind of, the feature probably takes up the majority of the kiddie pool, I would assume, right?
But the larger mushrooms are 5 foot in diameter. Your pool is
Okay.
going to be 20 foot wide.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a good
So
size.
it-
5
it
foot
take-
diameter is the top though.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
not
then
the
it
base.
just, and then it just
The-
goes down off.
The riser is
What, 2
12
foot?
inches.
12 inch? I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. The 5 foot in diameter is above head. So the
Correct.
kids are gonna go underneath it. So it's not taking
Yep.
up that much space.
Right.
So, and I think the board would like to see some other, because if, I don't know who's been out to the town of Cortland Pool, they have some cute things out there too, other than a mushroom, so. I mean,
Well,
just so.
I mean, like I said, there are literally
Yeah, it
millions
depends.
to
yeah,
pick
it
from.
Depends, okay,
I mean, I can just give you links to catalogs,
okay, that would be
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
That
but
would be good. Perfect.
I was gonna try and narrow it down for you. But if you want to go through everything, you're welcome to.
For me, I don't mind if you narrow it down. Because you know what would work for the pool.
There's not a right or wrong. There's what you want.
Right.
And we've got 2 extremes on the board as is. You know, I can't tell you that one is right.
Well,
No,
send
of
us
course,
the
that's
link
good.
and maybe
Yeah.
it'll pique somebody's interest, you know, on the
Right.
board and then.
Yeah, if you want to go through, I will send the information to Marcus
great.
and
Yeah.
you guys are welcome to flip through and see what you're interested in.
Or better yet, send us a link and tell us what your top 3 or top,
Yeah.
5 are of what you would recommend in that size. And we'll take it from there.
Okay?
Because if we each go through these catalogs, I can guarantee you we're probably all going to have different features in mind. So if at least you narrow it
probably
down
will,
for us,
yes.
we can pick from that.
Yeah.
Okay. We can do that.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Were there any other questions on what you did get?
No.
No, I haven't.
All right.
We appreciate it.
Oh, before you leave, what would be after they pick a feature, what the process, or at least everybody knows what the process would be to move forward?
Well, depending on what feature you pick, we have to put in the equipment to support it. The larger mushroom is 500 gallons a minute. Some of the little ground sprays are 10 gallons a minute. So obviously, depending on which it is, we have to design to accommodate that required flow rate for each unit.
And each
So-
unit requires the same UV. Whether the size of the unit varies or not.
Correct.
It requires the same
In
size UV.
Westchester does things a little bit differently than most of the state. They require UV treatment for any feature, regardless of whether it's a splash pad or a pool. The rest of the state doesn't do that. They only require it for splash pads. But
So
most of
30K is-
most of the state, though, requires treatment for your flow rate through the
Just
feature.
just the-
Westchester doesn't. They require treatment of just the pool recirculation
just
rate.
put a separate UV.
So regardless of which feature we pick, your UV system would be the same.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And after they pick the feature, you finish the plans, submit it to the Department of Health, what's the process that?
We would
that
send it in
everyone
for
understands?
one final review from your board. Assuming there's no comments, there would be some paperwork for you guys to sign, and then we'll submit it to the health department.
And what's the timeline on that, so people understand?
They've been running 6 to 9 months lately.
So this is something we could possibly have for next season.
Possibly.
Yep.
We're getting late for that
Yeah.
at this point.
Yep, I get it.
All right,
Okay.
all right, no
Thank
more
you.
questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to ask Chief Farrell to come up. He's going to give us an overview with the agreement with the MTA for the radio communications.
Good evening.
Shane?
Hey, Shane.
Yeah, just, so I did send everybody, or I sent Marcus out, I think you sent it out too. Yeah, just so the county is just in large is going into, more, radio systems that are interoperable, so we can talk to other places, communicate during times of emergency. So part of the mutual aid agreement now is, upgrading the radio so we can communicate with each other. So the agreement I sent you is just so we are allowed to operate on the railroad frequency. The radios themselves are coming from Westchester County. They'll be programmed. We are just responsible for install and maintenance, just like any of their equipment they provide us. But the actual agreement is really just so we can use, if we need to communicate with those that are on that channel, like different agencies, we can use that frequency to communicate. So that's really what it's all about. But then it also gives us a feature, actually, Chief was telling me that we'll be able to communicate with the fire department as well at major scenes or anything like that. So which we can't do now either. We can't communicate with anybody besides Peekskill. So this would bring us into being able to communicate during time of need. So
Okay,
that's really it in a nutshell.
sounds good. And while you're here, I just want to have, I'm going to skip over to the parking restrictions. We have had this open as a public hearing. Just some of your thoughts on the Third Street intersection and also Lake Drive.
So Third Street, so what we talking about, Henry up there?
Yeah, yes, the top of Third and
Yep.
Henry.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a sight distance issue when cars are parked there, right? When there's no cars, it's obviously not a problem, but there's cars there all the time. So my thoughts are either you have to change parking to the other side of the road, or we can even start smaller and just, maybe 90 feet. I'm not sure what sight distance is, legally, but maybe, you start with no parking from the corner 90 feet or something. And if we need more, since it's, if that sight distance doesn't work, you just add another area of no parking. Those are the two options I see there. Lake Street. So that would be the curve there. I mean, I just think there should be no parking on the on the inside of the curve. You
So
know,
it'd be, if you're
because if you're
coming
coming
from
out
the
of Lake Street,
circle,
you can't see to the left, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
to your left. So, so yeah, inside the curve as it comes around, just no parking in there. You know, a little feature there, but I don't think really anybody parks there lately. I know it used to be a problem. But yeah, that. I mean, you can't see if you come out of Lake Street and there's anything there, because there's already bushes pretty much up to the line anyway. So,
okay.
so I think just, you know, that little area, no parking would be fine. Yeah, and Henry Street, I think the easiest fix is just parking on the other side, but honest with you, but
I mean, limiting it to one side of the street
at that maybe just that area.
between Second and Third,
Yeah,
right? Isn't that what we agreed? That was the issue, was between Second and Third?
Yeah, but I think the chief is saying like not that whole strip, but to try maybe 60 feet, which is 6 car lengths roughly.
well, if you kept parking on both sides, I would say you on the, you know, on the lower side, right, heading towards North Village, you would have to, or on the Third Street side, right? So you would have to put, yeah, you'd have to, the cars don't park up to the corner, but they're probably about 30, 40 feet off. So I would say you maybe want to go out to 90 feet just to give you that extra sight distance. So when a car is coming, you can see it. That's another way you can do it. But I think the easiest fix really personally is just put the cars on the other side of the road and then it's clear.
Mhm. All right, yeah, I just wanted, your input, because
Yeah.
I know you went out to look at both places, so.
Yeah. And just that little curve on Tate that's just always been coming out of there is hard. So,
All right, good.
And First Street, it seems, Tate and First seems to have kind of rectified itself.
yeah. So,
So,
that,
You know,
whatever
whatever you guys have been doing, it's been,
appreciate it. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I think we've addressed any issues that we know of, and if you guys know of anything, let us know, but there's not really much.
So that issue that was originally brought up about the school bus and cars driving around it, that's been resolved on Tate Avenue.
well, there's been almost no cars parking on Tate now since they've been,
Yeah, so technically they can, right? There's no, I mean, it's not illegal, but we've, you know, asked for some help. And hopefully the cooperation stays and it's not really an issue, you know? People are pretty understanding around here. We all know each other, so I think that's kind of the way it worked, so.
All right. Any other questions for the chief while he's here?
but I've noticed a difference
Oh,
at
good.
First and Tate.
All right, good. All right, thanks, chief. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming in.
Sharon.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is discussion of roof solar panels. Is he here?
Yeah,
Yes, he
right
is. Oh, there he is. Leo, how are you? Long time no see.
So Leo, thanks for coming. I shared the board, the break-even analysis.
Okay.
So if you could talk about how the process works, what you looked at, they have the analysis in front of them. And
Sure.
we can go over and answer any questions the board may have.
So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that there are 105 solar systems already in the village of Buchanan. 3 of them are on non-residential properties, one very large one over at Lafarge, and 2 other commercial buildings have solar. And then there's 102 residential homes that have solar on the roof already. Yes.
I'm one.
There you go. As I drove up and down Tate, I just took a lap and see, yep, I can count that one, that one, that one. So Buchanan's doing well in that regard. With respect to placing solar on the roof of this building, which has a roof that's good for solar, there's some trees and some shading, but there's technology solutions for taking care of that by having the solar respond well, even if there's some temporary shading on a couple panels, the other panels will perform well enough. You have a pretty good opportunity here to put solar on the roof of this building. And I gave forwarded an analysis of that. So I should back up. My name is Leo Wigman. I'm Director of Solar Programs for sustainablewestchester.org, which is a nonprofit, which is comprised of the cities, towns, and villages of Westchester County. The only exception is Buchanan has not joined officially, but I hope tonight we can make a step in the right direction. So we work on behalf of all the cities, towns, and villages to present information, knowledge, or programs that an individual municipality may not be able to come up with themselves. And so we're sort of a shared municipal service. And my job as Director of Solar Programs is based on my experience for 10 years of co-owning a solar company that built systems all over Westchester County. I sold the shares in that company when I came here, so I wouldn't be conflicted out by being in essentially the public sector now, or quasi-public sector, by helping advise all those cities, towns, and villages on how to streamline solar permitting or how to facilitate their own residents and businesses adopt solar. And we are at this point advising quite a few of our municipalities in Westchester County on how they could put solar on their own facilities. And there's a couple of changes in federal law that have made that quite a bit more possible. Most significantly, under the Inflation Reduction Act, the 30% of the investment that someone made on the commercial side, if you paid income taxes, you were able to recover or shelter from income taxes. But if you didn't pay income taxes, as a government doesn't, or a school district doesn't, or a nonprofit doesn't, you weren't able to ever recoup that money. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, every dollar that a local government spends on a solar system, they can claim 30 cents on that dollar payment from Treasury at the end of the next tax year. There's a couple paperwork steps to go through, but we're starting to now see nonprofit organizations in Westchester County. We just worked with the Presbyterian Church in Mount Kisco that's going to get a $100,000 check back from the Treasury next, well, should be this April, for a system they put in last year that was a $300,000 system. So we're starting to see those government incentives work in the favor of the nonprofit sector, or the government, non-tax exempt sector, I should say. So from the perspective of the system that's on this roof, that could fit on this roof, you could fit enough on this roof to offset about 45% of the annual usage of this facility, which I think is pretty nice, given that it's not a huge roof, and this building is 3 stories, and it's got a police department in it, and it's pretty much a 24/7 building. So with that in mind, Administrator Serrano shared with me your New York Power Authority bills, and I kind of went through those to pull out which of the largest accounts that you have, and your 2 largest accounts have to do with pumping water, and that's not uncommon in small municipalities. The same is true in Croton. But your 3rd largest account is this building, and so we can take care of half of, roughly 45% of this building with a solar system that would be on the roof. That would offset about $10,000 worth of your New York Power Authority bill that you wouldn't pay the Power Authority because you're taking the energy off the roof directly. And after the financial analysis of what approximately you would pay for this system upfront, after the federal incentive and the significant state incentive, about 50% of that cost goes away, and you're left with about $50,000 of net cost to you, to the village, and you're going to be earning back roughly $10,000 per year, or $9,500 per year in savings. So you have about a 4.5 to 5 or 6 year payback on that system. The systems typically last 25 years, or are warranted for their major part for 25 years. They don't really have any moving parts. The solar system, as you know, will have an inverter that will invert the direct current to alternating current, and that will then plug into behind the meter here of your service load at this building, and directly offset things at this building. In the case of some of the municipalities we're working with, they have significant roofs over public works garages that more than offset that public works garage. So in that case, for example, we're working with Ardsley now. They have a brand new facility. If you ever get a chance to tour their new DPW garage, it's pretty awesome. It's great. And so they have, their facility will offset, they'll generate 70% more energy than they need at that garage, but they're going to use that to cover their police and courts building and 1 or 2 other buildings, the Ardsley Library and that sort of thing. So if you weren't able to use all of it here, you could remote credit another account that the village owned and operated. Could be a street lighting account, it could be another building. And so there's never been a more flexible time to distribute the benefits of the solar, but in your case, what's on your roof here will almost certainly over the course of a month be entirely consumed by this building. And one of the roles that Sustainable Westchester can play is we can help, because most of the customers, the municipalities that we're working with, haven't bought a solar system before. So we can do a draft request for solicitations for you that meets the requirements that you have for that. We can make sure that the proper vendors who have the proper background and experience to do this kind of work get that solicitation and respond to that RFP for you. And then we can help screen the answers that they give you, the responses they give you, to give you a bid comparison, for example. We can also run a site visit to bring them on site and have them do a site inspection of the building. So when they give you a bid response, it's informed by the actual facility and not just a computer flyover on their Google Earth map. And so, those are services we have begun offering, as a sort of à la carte menu that you can choose which things you want us to help you with, and then we can give you a price for that. We cost a lot less than an engineering firm to do that kind of work for you. And we try to give you good value for that so that we can free up your staff to do the things your staff is otherwise ordinarily doing. And with that in mind, I don't know if there are other questions. I could go through the details of what's in front of you. I did make the one mistake on the financial analysis. There's a residential tax credit of 25% up to $5,000, which if you're a homeowner and put it on your roof, you get to take advantage of. But I didn't uncheck that box, and I should have here. Those $5,000 will not come back to the village for that, because that's devoted to residential homeowners. But other than that, I'm happy to correct that here. I just noticed that on my drive over here, or before I got in the car. I'm like, oops. And there is quite a bit of anxiety generally about what may be happening with these tax credits, because it's a federal policy, but it's built into the tax code now. The instructions exist at irs.gov. I checked earlier this week because we're having that question from, Village of Ardsley, Village of Croton, Town of North Salem, all these municipalities we're working with. And it's hard coded into the tax code for this year at minimum. And if it's not unwritten by Congress has to unwrite it if they want to unwrite it. It will stay into the tax, that 30% tax credit for nonprofits or tax exempts will stay in the code until 2032. But I wouldn't wait till 2032 because prices will go up, electric rates are going up, et cetera. And New York Power Authority rates will go up. And eventually, for the moment, I also made the assumption in the pricing here, in the financial analysis, I have a price per watt, which is sort of, you buy sort of your corn by the cob, you buy your hamburger by the pound, your gasoline by the gallon, you buy solar as dollars per watt of installed system capacity. And I made an assumption that it would be a prevailing wage job, so that it would be 25 cents more expensive than the average job for this size within the zip codes surrounding you immediately. Because I always look at the zip codes surrounding your site immediately to see if I can find other jobs that have been done. And New York State publishes all this data, so it's very easy, but it's a lot of data, but you can sort it to figure out, well, what if somebody else paid for a similar system within 5 miles of my location in the last 24 months? What's the average price? What are the system components that they use? So I can do a sort of system component comparison. And then I basically assume that a public sector prevailing wage job here would be a slightly higher wage. So that's, I included that in the markup. On the flip side, New York State gives someone a slightly, they give them a prevailing wage adder if they're doing a large job that's a prevailing wage. This job would be small enough that it wouldn't qualify for that, but nonetheless, it would offer the village an ability to offset at least 40% of this facility's, 45% of this facility's electricity on an annual basis, and to have, after 6 years, basically have that paid off already. Because when you buy a solar system, as you know, you're buying 20 to 25 years worth of electricity up front, right? And what that does is sort of levelizes the cost you paid for all those kilowatt hours, because you're locking in it at today's dollars. And the more inflation there is in the rate from your local utility, the more savings you'll have over the rest of the balance of those years. I'm not sure whether there are questions. I don't have the address list of every residential solar system. NYSERDA does not publish that for public privacy reasons, but they do publish the address list of the 3 businesses that have that. But I left that on my computer at work. But
Yeah, at one time, the Certainty property was one of the largest commercial. I think
yes,
that goes back like 4 or 5 years ago.
yeah, they
solar
did it
panels.
in stages, and if you look on Google or any other aerial view program, quite a few of those buildings just covered with solar.
Mhm.
Yep, even that they have some soiling from their operations, but they must go up and blow it off or something. I don't know. But
Yeah, yeah. that's fair.
Yeah.
So it's about a 5-year payback on investment.
Mhm. And
Um,
certainly within 6 years, depending on what the actual rates are. I did use the rate that for this building's meters, which is nice, not nice. Sort of New York Power Authority knows this as the Tate Avenue office. I mean, it's not all spelled out; it's all abbreviated. But I assume that it was this place and not some other place. And so by the time I go through their charts and figure out you're paying 24 cents a kilowatt hour now for this facility, so I use that times the 41,500 kilowatt hours this thing would generate per year to come up with the $10,000 of savings, $9,950 this year. But
So probably the sewer treatment plant, this one doesn't sound like it's, it's gonna take 5 years to
The
realize
sewer treatment
anything.
plant uses 6 times more than, sorry, 2.5 times more than this building.
Mhm, mhm.
And so and there's a pump, there was something identified as pump, which I'm not. So there are two accounts more that larger than this one, but this one is 90,000 kilowatt hours a year. Those were like 250, 300,000 kilowatt hours a year, which is not uncommon if you have, if you're moving water, either
pump
sewer water
maintenance.
or water.
Yeah.
Or a water facility.
Yeah.
And there are efficiencies that can be looked in. You may have already done that with respect to variable frequency drives and other kinds of things to make the energy use at the pumping site lower over time. And that would take a significantly larger solar system. I did look at the site that you.
DPW, the highway garage, you looked at that too?
I believe so. I've looked at 150 sites in the last couple of months for municipalities. It's my computer will tell me if I looked at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this roof looked pretty good. I think the highway garage is a little smaller. I wasn't sure of the load there, how much energy you would need to run the highway garage. I'm happy to confirm
But the
tomorrow, by the way.
weed probably
Because that also,
really look
that,
for savings.
yeah, because that also lights up the pavilion and everything
Yes.
else, right?
Yes, correct. And the pool.
And the pool, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all connected.
So Marcus, you'll let me know if there's another site I should look at, but,
Yes.
and we're happy to assist the village with this. We sort of have a little list of things we can do for you. You go down the checklist and tell us what you want us to help you with, because it varies from municipality to municipality.
Mhm.
And then we'll give you back what we think would cost us to help you with that. It would be, not gonna be a lot of money, it could be a couple $1,000s, but and are you funding this through a Clean Energy Communities grant or some other grant opportunity or straight out of a capital? Or into the
It'll be
next
out of-
capital
Yeah.
project?
Out of the capital.
Yeah, okay, fine, that's fine. Well, it'll be a capital project that'll
Correct.
pay you net dividends when the incentives come back to you. So
Mhm.
unlike most capital, well, I won't.
Did he look at the other properties, Marcus?
Yeah, I gave him a list of even talking about even putting solar panels at the wastewater treatment plant in the green area as well.
Yeah.
We talk about, car ports as well, so
We-
we can talk. Go
We
through
went
them
back and
again.
forth and
Yeah.
so, there's a ground mounted opportunity over here, but there's a bit of a hill.
Mhm.
And you'd have to clear some trees. It's not huge. It could be done.
Right,
It's not the lowest hanging fruit.
correct.
I've seen the ground ones. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
I have no problem putting panels up on the top of a roof here, but I gotta tell you, like what I've seen with some of the floor or some of the ground, like what they did to the old Texaco building down in Lower Westchester, it's one big solar farm.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's,
It's not exactly a wise use of prime real estate.
It's a waste of real estate.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the largest solar system going up now is at the Croton Harmon train station parking lot, which is the parking canopies.
I get it.
I was
It,
there
it makes
Sunday.
total sense,
Yeah.
right?
I'll tell you, yes, I just reported on this to the Business Council of Westchester yesterday. That canopy, there's two things happening there. One, there are 12 tall canopies that cover 1,100 parking spaces.
Mhm.
That is sending energy to the grid, and it's also sending energy to 4 shipping container size energy storage units, basically lithium iron phosphate battery units that are the size of shipping containers. The shipping container sizes take up 25 parking spots
Mm.
versus the 1,100 parking spots that are covered by the solar canopies. Because the village started that process a couple of years ago when the state incentive was at a peak, and that was captured in the project economics, the total project at the train station parking lot cost the village 25 parking spots permanently, because those were lost to the battery system. But after COVID, the village lot was never 100% full all the way. So after 2,000 spots, you give up 25. The revenue to the village there is $480,000 per year. 3/4 of that comes from those 4 energy storage units, from the 25 parking spots that are covered with the half acre, that's the energy storage. And the 10 acres that are solar contribute the other $120,000 to make it 480,000. So just in our part of the grid here, because of congestion and other reasons, the ability to store energy and dispense it during the peak load, and our peak load in this part of the county is 4 PM to 8 PM, but that's not the solar peak. The solar peak is 10 AM to 2 PM. So the energy storage allows you to harvest the solar 10 AM to 2 PM and shift it and then inject it into the grid during the supper bump when we all come home and turn everything on. So that's the sort of the economics of why the energy storage component is valuable if you're going to export that into the grid and get paid by the utility for injecting and helping them when everybody comes home. But that's obviously when you're behind the meter in this building, you're just going to use the energy and the meter will run backwards if your solar system generates more energy than the building would be using in that moment of time.
Right.
Yeah.
We would have to look into the condition of these roofs also, wouldn't we?
I was going to ask, wasn't able to go up on the roof, so
Yeah.
is,
The highway
Talked about
department
the
was
roof.
good.
Yeah, so
That
there's
was
a
new.
company doing an assessment, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Lothrop, I think, is doing an
Yes,
assessment.
yep.
of the roof.
I couldn't tell if they were membrane roofs or just built up bitumen roofs or,
Couldn't tell you.
okay.
We'll look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a flat roof, so
Yeah, it is.
if it's not leaking now, the goal is,
I don't remember.
the good news is with solar system on a flat roof, if you're on a pitched roof, like most residential roofs, you have to attach that solar system through the roof into the rafter structure so it doesn't slide off. And so you have to penetrate the roof itself with a waterproof method of doing that. On a flat roof, you never penetrate the roof. You lay the solar system down on ballasted pads and racks that sit on top of the roof. And there's typically a high quality paving stone arrangement that's sitting under each module that keeps it from blowing off the roof. So you're putting a little weight on the roof. The average weight you're putting on the roof with a ballasted solar system on a building like this is about 6 pounds per square foot. And so we'll want to know that the roof structure could handle that. But most of the time, the existing snow load conditions will have been 30 pounds per square foot or something in that range. So if you're on a roof, on a residential roof, and you're simply bolting through with a waterproof sealant through the shingle into the rafter to mount that solar system, you're only adding about 2.5 pounds per square foot. So you're lighter because you don't have essentially a paving stone underneath. So there won't be any penetrations of this roof under the rooftop solar that would be contemplated here.
Anybody have any questions for Leo? Thank
So
you.
next
We
steps,
got
I'll
an
take my
education on
mark-
solar panels.
Perfect, happy to help, and I'll take my marching orders from Administrator Serrano.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, have a great evening.
You too,
Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, bye.
All right, George Palmer, engineer, update on the wastewater treatment. I call it the sewer treatment plant. That's old technology, old terminology, but wastewater treatment plant project.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. We had a discussion with the DEC. Am I there now?
There you go, yeah.
Okay. We had a meeting with the DEC, Stephanie, Marcus, 2 weeks ago. And we talked about the resolution that that the board needs to sign to get their agreement. As part of their agreement, that gives them the grant money, the $2.6 million, $2.726,704 million for the WIA grant. As part of that discussion, they wanted all the project costs. We put all the project costs in a resolution, and they wanted to know that the village has a commitment from some entity, bond council or someone else, that there's the money to pay for the project in its entirety. So that's why the bond resolution is in front of you tonight. It's for $1.42 million, and it's just a ability to borrow that money. You don't have to borrow it until we do the bids. Once we do the bids, we'll know where we're at, because as we said, we have a contingency. Contingency is $2 million. You would be borrowing 1.4 million, but we don't know that until we bid the project. So
Yeah, if I,
you may not use this at all.
yeah,
so-
if I wait, Mayor, just to
Sure.
go back to the beginning again. We applied for three times, 2 WQIP and 1 WIA. We got approved for WQIP a couple years ago. We applied for WIA. We also talked about the Entergy money that the town has released to release to the village. The entire project, and I'll let George talk to that, is over 11 million. The grants did not meet the entire part of the project, all the projects that we talked about. So the state is requiring that any remaining balance has to be somehow budgeted for, even to a bond resolution. So George, why don't you talk about the entire project and how much was, that would the public know how we got here?
Sure. The entire project is 12.568 million. As Marcus said, there's 3 projects involved with that. There's the sewage treatment plant, there's the Albany Post Road pump station, and there's the workout on 9A for the sewer main. So what we talked about at one of our last meetings was doing just the sewage treatment plant. That was the $11 million that was in the resolution, 11.308. So for this year, the borrowing is only 209,000. So for this fiscal year, it'd be 209,000 would be the commitment, because that's only the sewage treatment plant. And the DEC didn't seem to have a problem with putting the pump station and the sewer line work off to next year, long as we documented that, and we did.
Yeah.
So,
But the state wants commitment from the village, so the entire amount is covered, pending going out to the bid.
Yeah.
So that's why the village will have to consider a bond resolution to tell the state that all the funds are in place in case we needed to borrow that money.
correct.
So the total project, like you said, is 12.5, but we have 11 million covered. So really, to bond 1.5, maybe less, because there's a few other things that are happening out there.
Correct.
I mean, for us to redo this whole project without any of the funding at all, that's a big nut to crack, the 12 million.
Yes.
So compared to the total cost of the project, and we, ended up adding in the pumping station on Albany Post Road. We talked about that before. There've been issues in the past with the water rising. Wheels, you would remember that, right? That was scary.
Yeah.
And then also, how much was it to do in the road? I forget the amount, the Albany Post Road, where it dipped
Sewer
in.
line.
The
sewer line.
sewer line 358 was our estimate. So,
So
But we
that-
could also resubmit for another grant,
you could.
Mhm.
correct? So
Yep, so that's still enough.
So that's, you have it, that's right. You have another year. So you could submit, you could do this work and pay for the 209 out of your capital budget.
Mhm.
And then next year, if it even comes up, and then next year you could put the grant in for the pump station and the sewer main and under a different grant. Because going towards the same grants, you reduce your chances of getting it when you go for the same ones but a different one. And there are grants out there all the time. So.
Yeah.
So that's definitely another possibility.
Mhm. All right. So is the board okay with that? So we can move this forward, or any questions for George or Marcus on the bonding? No, we're good? Okay, George, you're up again. The Stormwater Management Program Plan Update. That's that nice booklet you showed us.
Yeah, so, DEC,
What happened to the paper reduction program?
DEC doesn't seem to have gotten the memo. So we have, this year's permit. This is the DEC permit for this year. This is the stormwater permit that every municipality has to comply with. This permit requirement generates this nice thick book that actually we're going to meet the DEC on Thursday because we have our audit. And we go through what we go through on this DEC. This is our stormwater management program plan. And basically in here, the DEC wants us to demonstrate to them how we are going to comply with the 6 minimum measures which they require in their permit, which is a public education and outreach program, public involvement and participation, illicit discharge, construction site stormwater runoff, post-construction practices, pollution prevention and good housekeeping. And in this year's manual. The focus was on mapping, record keeping, illicit discharges, and there were some changes to the annual reporting that was done. And there's a focus on public involvement. So they have a whole section in the new stormwater plan, management plan about public involvement. They feel that if the public is involved, that more things will get addressed, such as putting pesticides on your lawn, not wasting water, all sorts of things that they want to promote for clean stormwater, washing your cars and whatnot. So this draft is on the village website. It's this plan was on there last year. They want you to update it, and we've updated it. Marcus has put it on the website.
Done.
And if the public has any comment, what we do is if there's any comments, we try to address them in the program and update it and approve it and certify it and send it to the state. So
with public involvement, should we be including that in one of our meetings for people to,
this is the meeting.
this is the meeting?
This is the meeting. So you put it on an agenda. It's on there. People can listen to the.
Now they
the
know it's
meeting.
out on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website. So this is that meeting. DEC would love you to talk about it at every meeting, but once is the requirement, is good, yeah. Once meets the requirement.
Thank you for
So,
compiling all that. That's a
you're welcome.
little
Yeah.
bit of work there.
It is, and we're gonna have a long day on Thursday with the DEC, so they're gonna come to the site, come to the village hall, then we're gonna meet with them. We're gonna go through all our paperwork, all the sites that we are inspecting and reviewing, like AMS and Village Square. We get out the SWEPs, we show them the inspection reports, that's part of the record keeping. What the building department does, what Peter does, how he goes out there. He has to
I
have
mentioned that he got.
He's got his certification. He needs a sediment and erosion control certification. He has that. So he can go on to sites. He's certified. So all that record keeping, paper management is what we're going to do on Thursday. So
Good luck.
Sounds
thank
like,
you.
sounds like a lot of fun. Is
Yeah.
it Kelly Totoro?
No,
No?
it's a partner Roy.
Oh, okay.
So one of the people out of the White Plains office.
Oh, okay.
So
All right. Something to look forward to. All right, thank you, George. There was something else. I want you to stay for one other thing, also.
Zoning?
The section, the paper road, for that. So next is Mr. Dave Smith. And this is the text amendment for the M1 districts.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the board. For the record, Dave Smith, planning consultant to the village. So based on some recent meetings with the zoning board, they've had some concerns with respect to lot coverage for not only the M1, the light industrial, but also the M2, the planned industrial district. Currently, lot coverage for the M1 is 50%, and for the M2, it's 40%. What they've suggested based on the review of recent applications which have come before them is to actually increase the impervious surface for both of those districts to 75%. And that's probably more in keeping with more contemporary design for those types of uses. Any increase, it's noted though that any increase in impervious surface has to be dealt with through stormwater management. So that all of that, if an applicant comes in and they want to increase the impervious surface, they have to address it through stormwater management as part of the site plan approval and reviews through the building department and through staff. So what we've prepared for your consideration is amendments to the bulk table for both the M1 and the M2 district, revising the coverage to go up to 75%. We've included the environmental assessment form as part of the SEQR, that's the State Environmental Quality Review Act review process that would be circulated. And then also we've included a draft agenda, a draft resolution that would declare, that your board would declare yourself lead agency. Because under New York State village law and your own code, you're the only body that can amend the zoning code. So it makes sense that you would declare yourself lead agency and then schedule a public hearing. So if you have, the resolution is in draft form, it's really just if you have a date that you want to schedule the meeting for, you could add that. We would circulate the resolution along with the environmental assessment form and the proposed revisions to the zoning code to all the other interested involved agencies. And that includes your own planning board, your own zoning board. And we've also included the town of Portland, the city of Peekskill, Westchester County Department of Planning, and then the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. So that's a standard practice for circulation of these types of amendments for full transparency as part of the public. And then we would also we would work with Marcus on having the draft amendments put on the village website for public review as well.
Mhm. So the question is the board in agreement of increasing it to 75% from the 50 and the 40, M1 50, and it would go up to 75% lot coverage, M2 from 40 up to 75%.
And Mayor, if I
Correct.
may, I think that matches the overlay district.
It matched, yes, and that, you're right, you're correct. That was one of the reasons is the C1, C2 overlay district has a maximum coverage of 75%. So that was one of the conditions that the zoning board was looking at and evaluating as your code has been updated to reflect some new development patterns, that this should be brought up to a more contemporary standard.
All right, if no one has any questions.
I'm
We're
good.
good with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
So as soon as you've scheduled a public hearing,
So the mayor, would
Let
you
me
want to
know.
put down the April 1st agenda?
Yes,
call for
let's-
Public hearing for May?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be April 1st for the May meeting.
okay,
And the main meeting is what, May 6th?
I'll check for you right now. May 6th, correct.
Okay, scheduled public hearing.
Okay.
All right, good. Thank you,
all
Dave.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you, Dave.
So George, I want you, the next thing is the official transfer of a section of a paper road. So they're going back 1979, 1980. I vaguely remember it, but I know a lot of the paper roads in the village were turned over, were abandoned, shall I say. They were abandoned. The one we're talking about here is on Third Street. I know there's other property owners that are interested in taking advantage of that opportunity of taking those paper roads over. And what it is with the paper roads is 50% for each property owner. They get 50% of it. This property that we're talking about here, 209 4th Street, the question is, are there any utilities on there? Are there any easements? Is there anything that would be an issue for either the homeowner or the village?
So, we looked at this one, I think it was last week, the 4th Street. It backs up to what is a paper street, 3rd Street paper
Right.
street, which was demapped
Correct.
in the 70s or 80s.
Correct.
And as the mayor said, half of it, they're entitled to half of that easement. So, and in this case, the utilities that are crossing this easement, because there are ones that cross it, they're in front of the pump station, which is a few houses down. So in this case, there's no utilities for this property.
Okay. So, and the homeowner knows that it would have to be noted on their deed.
Correct. The homeowner is, already did the survey. I explained that to him.
Mhm.
He said if the village board has no objection to confirming there's no easements, he'll get file this survey with the county and also file with the deed with the county as well. And now update all the GIS maps as well. And now he'll extend his backyard a little bit.
Good.
So he's ready to go.
Good for him. So now let's talk about other property owners, because you know, other people are interested. We did have a situation up, Catherine or Cortlandt Street, remember, going back a ways? There were people that were interested in taking the roads, half of the road. But I think the issue got to be that it was the cost of doing a new survey or whatever else they had to do, change their deed. That goes back a little bit, probably about 5, 6 years ago. I know people were interested, but then they didn't pursue it.
There was a talk of assessment. So do they purchase this from the village? How does that work?
No, they just increase it. It doesn't add anything to the
You
assessment.
don't have to like sell it to them for $1
Nope.
and you
No,
just-
it was abandoned.
it's
It's
abandoned.
abandoned.
So since it was demapped.
Correct.
the Village owns it and can
Correct.
do whatever. it
So
wants
this
with it.
property owner expended the money already with the surveyor. So if anybody wants to do it, all I gotta do is go to a survey. George will double check there's no easements required and they can file a deed.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I know there are other property owners that are interested. So what is the process for them now? They would have to resurvey their property, including the additional area, half of the road. And then they would have to contact you to make sure there's no easements.
Oh, Marcus, so it's.
Let me go back a step.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Because I just wanted, you know, because there's
Yeah.
going to be questions.
Right.
People are going to be
So,
asking.
so when I spoke to this property owner, he spoke to his neighbors as well.
Mhm.
Because I said, if the other neighbor across the road doesn't want it, you can actually take as much of the paper road as you want. So he said, I spoke to his neighbors, they weren't sure about it, so that's why he's just taking that one half. So you're absolutely correct. The first thing they should do is talk to the neighbors,
Mhm.
because that way they can split the cost on the surveyor. If multiple people on the same road would like to share the cost for a surveyor, and then they can contact me, I'll give it to George, we'll make sure there's no easements. If there are any easements, their surveyor will have to include the easements as well as part of the survey. And then after that, I can file a deed. But the first thing they do is go to do a survey.
Right.
Is there anyone in the audience today that has a question on that? Are we good? While I have the engineer here. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, Carl, yeah, Carl is. Sorry.
I'm one of those involved. I live on Center Street.
Yep.
And I own 2 parcels. So I know there's an easement on one of them because in order for me to build, I had to, there was an easement that ran in the middle of the property. And at that time I asked, why couldn't it be the water runoff run down to the street, to 4th Street and then down to the lake? And they told me, well, at that time they weren't gonna do any work on pipes and stuff. Well, Lord and behold, they did. And they never, facilitated that. But there is an easement off the side that goes into that abandoned property, which was the paper road. So that I know, because I had to pay for that in order to build a house. So, I would be interested, obviously. But I would ask the other people, if they, like you mentioned, maybe jump in and
Right.
get a survey done.
That'll be your first step.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And then I would just submit it.
Yep. You come see me in Village Hall.
Okay.
Give me a survey. With Sarah, with the village engineer, make sure that there's no other easements or anything we need. And if there are, they have to be included as part of
Right.
the.
I mean, I have surveys of it,
Oh, great. Okay.
so I know it was surveyed.
That's
Okay.
good.
And
So your survey should include the paper road section that you want to acquire.
correct.
Yep.
Because when I built it, I had to have the survey done. And that easement is there, and in the thing, the survey said that it was deemed abandoned or deemed
Yes.
to the property, but some title has to be checked.
Correct.
Okay.
Perfect. That'd be great. Look forward to talking to you.
So,
Thank
so
you.
you might have enough information on the survey that you have now.
To just-
submit it.
Yeah.
Give me
All right, I'll bring it in, and I mean,
Talk to your neighbors too. Yeah.
because honestly, when I put the house up, I had to provide the paperwork of surveys and the subdivision of the property
Mm.
because the village supposedly didn't have it.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I was being a little, coy with that, but,
Okay.
so I do have that paperwork and I had the new survey when I had the house built.
Oh, great. That's good.
So I will come in and see you then.
Stop in. Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
George, what other easements go through there? Is there
Oh,
stormwater?
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
For the
Oh,
record.
Carl
name and address.
Locatelli.
For the
Yep.
record.
So,
Center Street.
186 Center.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
What other easements go through? Is there stormwater that goes
It's
through?
it's storm and sewer that go through there.
Okay, all right. Okay, so, good.
And it goes from First all the way through, parallels Center Street and ends up on Fourth.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have anything else for George Palmer this evening? I don't think so. Nope. Thanks,
night.
George. All
Thanks,
right,
George.
Have fun on Thursday, George. Okay, the next is the Verizon franchise. So we just finished the agreement with Optimum. So that was resolved. I don't know how much I can say because it's negotiation. But when we do the public hearing, you know, we'll put out some more information on that. I know they're looking for a very short amount of time, only 5 years. So when we get into the public hearing, so we will be scheduling a public hearing on April 1st and have the public hearing on May 6th. So that one's pretty easy. The next is, once again, and Bob knows this well, we really get use out of all of our equipment here. There's a 211 Ford Expedition that has served its useful life. And our highway foreman, Scott, has recommended that we just junk it because it's that bad. And so he received a proposal from Brookfield for $500. So we'll be voting on that on April 1st. And then I know a lot of people, the next is discussion of joining other municipalities to increase Con Edison rates. When I was at the last Westchester Municipal Official Association meeting, Chris Bradbury, who's an administrator in Rybrook, has really taken the lead on it. I think as of today, so there's a flat fee of $100,000 for legal and expert witnesses. And I'm understanding it's an 11-month process. And this law firm that's been contacted and is willing to do this is pretty experienced. And what they'll do is intervene, conduct discovery, retain expert witnesses, prepare briefs, and attend all hearing and settlements. So they're at the 100,000. So today I got an updated amount of municipalities that were interested. There's 18 approved. There's 10 in the works and 5, including us, on for making a decision. I think this would be wise for us to be included in this litigation. So including all those people, with over 30 municipalities, the village is looking at between $3,000 to $3,500 to be part of that. So yeah, the last I spoke at the WMOA meeting, there were 20 municipalities, so it was 10,000 each. But since everyone, I think it's almost every municipality is going to be joining in on this.
Makes sense.
And the Public Service Commission, just so everyone knows, just approved in Rockland a 3-year for gas. And I think the gas, their increase was electric was 4.6 for 2025, 3.3 for 2026, 3.5 for 2017. And the PSC lowered that amount. They requested higher, but the PSC lowered that amount. So I know the county has also jumped in on this. They're doing their own, they decided not to jump in with the municipality, so they're doing something separate. So this is in front of the PSC for the rates. And I know people are complaining, we're all complaining about our electric rates. Maybe we shouldn't have closed Indian Point, but that's another story. So a lot of it is delivery charges. And I know Con Edison has been doing some storm hardening. So just know when they do this infrastructure stuff, we're paying for it. And a lot of the new things going on with the battery storage, solar, you know, all these upgrades to going towards green energy, we're going to pay for it. So we just, you know, this can't continue, these rates. They're astronomical. And what was it, Marcus? The electric, so the increasing the electric, Con Edison is asking for 18.1. The residential delivery rate, an increase of 25.1%. And the natural gas delivery percent, 19.1%.
Wow.
On top of the last 3 years, a 20% increase.
Hmm.
I mean, these people, they're crazy. I don't know how people are, going to afford this. It's really bad. I got a bill for my store, which is closed now and only has a few pieces of equipment. In 1 month, it was $700.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know. So, we need to fight this. And if the board is interested in this, I'd like to have the Village of Buchanan also involved in this.
Mhm.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. good.
Yep.
So we will
Didn't,
approve
didn't
that.
the governor meet last week in relation to the natural gas line?
Uh,
Wasn't something supposed to be getting done about that last week?
There's, it's called Maple, and it's with the company that put our gas line through here. My understanding is that it's not going to affect this area, but there's a lot of protests going on already with the Maple line.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it was in Peekskill, wasn't it this week?
Yep.
With Dana Levenberg and the mayor there but I'll get more information. I've been trying to get hold of the gas company to give an explanation of, my first understanding was it wasn't going, the gas line and what they were doing wasn't going to affect our area. So what they're protesting then, I don't know. So, all right. We're moving along here. We had, like I said, we had a heavy agenda here this evening. The last is discussion on parking restrictions. So I know the chief spoke what his thoughts were on that. We're still in a public hearing, so I'd kind of like to wrap this up on the April 1st meeting. Dan, you said the thing that you brought up on Tate Avenue with the school bus has been resolved, so.
That seems
that's
to
not an
have,
issue.
yeah, that seems to have kind of rectified itself with the help of, the cops either speaking to people about not parking at the intersection corners.
Good.
Giving, first responders enough room to, get in and out of certain streets. So I don't know. I've seen the difference.
All right.
I work remote maybe at least once or twice a week, and I am cognizant of it when the school bus is there. So I've seen an
Sometimes you just
improvement.
need to speak to people and,
Mhm.
then they understand.
Now, where you're talking about, that's another situation. I mean, I don't know how you rectify that, but we need to come up with a solution.
I think Shane was on to something. You're talking about the Third Street?
Yes, between Second and Third,
Yeah,
right, is really
just
the
make it on one
biggest.
side of the street, because I know the chief mentioned doing 90 feet from the curb. That's gonna put us in the sidewalk into driveways anyway. So it's just easy to make it no parking on that one side,
From 3rd to 2nd.
from Third to Second, yes.
Yeah, because that's, I know Chris Mason was at a meeting. He, was concerned about that. I will not come up 3rd Street. You cannot see.
No, you can't.
And it's an accident just waiting to happen. And so the board would like to do 3rd to 2nd Street, no parking on that side of the street. Because when we're going to close the public hearing next week, we've had this open. And if we could have the houses that are there, if they could get a notice, because, they should know what we're talking about. Lake Street, so going from the circle to Lake Street, I think that was the only issue there of having no parking before you take a right onto Lake Street. Or is there another part of Lake Street that?
It was just that section, right, Shane? You thought that was the issue with Lake Street, was parking is, as soon as you take the right. Onto. Yeah, why don't you just,
On Tate, right before Lake Street. There's only one spot that they shouldn't park in.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you're coming out of Lake Street to your left,
yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
that area.
Thanks for staying through the whole meeting.
No
Chief.
worries.
Appreciate
thank you,
it.
Shane.
Okay, good. So then
think
at least
that's-
we have direction on what to do with these parking restrictions. Okay, that's good. Good. We can close out that public hearing. Okay.
What did we get resolved from all that for the past 4 meetings that we've been talking about?
I know, we've been all over the place with this, and then it was no
we got
parking
2
at
spots,
intersections.
2 spots
There was
resolved.
this, there was that, so, yeah. Well, these were the most critical, I think.
Well,
that-
we didn't take into regard anything that Chief Outhouse said. That's one thing that we haven't taken into regard. He did ask for that.
Do you want to come
Correct.
up, chief, and just mention again, because I know you had concerns with the fire trucks swinging up certain roads, having enough room.
Bob Outhouse, Fire Chief. Thank you once again. Thank you, Trustee Capacati, for bringing that up. I think the police chief addressed the areas. Trustee Stewart had the area at First Street and Tate Avenue. I will tell you that we will, whatever you decide to do, we will continue to monitor it and tell you how it's working out. I will tell you that, and I got some drivers right here. There's days that we don't have to go to EVOC school because we're doing EVOC around the cars in the village, right? So that's when you go this way and around and that way and around. Again, we've got big fire apparatus now. They don't come any smaller. And we do use caution, but you know, when certain turns are blocked at Third Street area, I know one of the residents was very concerned about between the group home and Third Street. That's very tight. When there is calls between Second and Third Street during any hour of the day, you can guarantee the road is going to be closed right there because one fire truck just shuts it down because of the parking on the both sides where it is right now. So you can guarantee it's shut down until we're done. But whatever you decide, I think you covered some of the areas. We'll let you know if we find any more, and maybe we can work on it moving forward. Some police involvement, you know. So I think we're getting it.
Ah, good.
Thank
It's
you.
progress.
Thank you. Yeah, we had to address those two spots because people came out and told us about that situation, and it puts the village on notice. So we will take care of that next week. The only other thing I have, Marcus, with the budget, I'd like to ask you, I don't think it's here, but there's a budget report that shows where the budget lines are coming in. If you could get that budget report to the board members, because it'll show what the budget was and if you're over or under on the amount that was budgeted. So that's always something really good to look at.
For the current year or for the past year?
I would do it as of, we're going to meet April 1st, as of maybe March 31st. If you could run it at the end of the month, that would be good. The only thing I have this evening is, I'm sure everyone's been getting this, but there's a lot of complaints about our public access channels, that there's no voice or difficulty. It has nothing to do with the person that handles our tech here. I know Mike has been doing some troubleshooting. I should have written something today and had it put on camera. We are aware. We are addressing it. So hopefully very soon, that'll be addressed and they'll be able to see it on TV, because I know a lot of people, especially the seniors, like to see it on TV. And also, I know, I think this Friday, Cablevision will also be working on some of their issues. So hopefully we can get this resolved soon. Okay, Wilda, we'll start with you today.
Just have to thank Dan and Steve Laker for organizing a great St. Patrick's Day parade. I also want to thank you for allowing the public to be part of your planning process. This was my first time participating, and I have to say that I felt very good. I felt that the public accepted and embraced the parade, and that's all because of your hard work and Steve's, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dan, I'm sorry, I forgot to thank you also. It was a good parade.
Thank you.
And at least the weather held out for the parade, so that was great. And if you could mention, when it comes to your turn, who your committee was to.
Yeah.
Okay. Bob, what do you have for us?
I don't really have too much. I haven't been around, but again, I was at the St. Patty's Day Parade. It was very well attended with a nice crew of marchers. So you guys did a great job. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Anthony, what do you have for us tonight?
I just say the same thing. I just want to commend Dan and Steve Laker and Dan for doing the work that they put in. I also want to thank the firehouse for accommodating for us. The accommodations after the parade were fantastic. It was very welcoming. that we had our little Irish feast there. And it was a good time for the community and for everybody. And I just want to thank the firehouse and Dan and Steve and Wilda and the rest of the committee for doing such a fantastic job.
Hey, Dan, what do you?
All
have for
right,
us?
so to shed light on exactly what everybody else was saying, we did have our St. Patrick's Day parade, and to me, I thought it was a great success. I just wanted to say thank you to our key sponsors, Certainty, AMS, Fred A. Cook, Giordano Contractors, Coles Market, who also provided us with our little Irish feast. The parade committee, Holly and Mike Eichler, Eileen Absinger, Lisa Wentz, Awilda Baez, Adam McNeil, my wife Sue Ann Stewart, and Clarabelle Laker, and of course, Steve for co-chairing. I also want to thank the Village Highway Department, Buchanan Police, Buchanan Beautification Committee for making the circle look fantastic for the parade. Buchanan Engine Company, Cortland Engine Company, and also the Westchester County Auxiliary Police. So we look forward to next year's parade, and hopefully it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit better every year. And we really appreciate everybody coming out and supporting it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything? for
Yes.
us this- Oh, okay. Oops.
There's a couple updates for the village board and for the public. Annual street sweeper. We have to begin with Cook to do street sweeping. We'll put on a newsletter for the week of May 12th. They're gonna come. Hopefully, everybody get their calls off the road. The lower village will be done on Monday and Tuesday. The upper village will be done on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday will be last minute cleanups that will be done. So we'll make the streets look really nice, hopefully by the end of May. Hopefully have some positive news from Verizon. I heard back from them regarding the Double Woods. They're hoping to be here the second week of April to start removing those double woods, including Catherine Street, which is the one I've been complaining
Yep.
about. So I finally got a response from them regarding that. We talked about security cameras at the pavilion.
Yes.
I worked with the chief. The chief actually got a grant, and we got a proposal to do that. It is winning the grant numbers, so we're gonna start putting the cameras in the pavilion to try to stop as much of vandalism as possible. We talked about the budget real quick. We'll talk about the budget at the next meeting, but the budget will be on the website because it's officially filed with the village board tonight. It's on the website. It'll be on the website for tomorrow. Hopefully, people have a chance to take a look at it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions before the meeting, which is next week, or during the meeting, whatever the public wants to do. Also, last year, the 23-24 audit also will be on the website. They'll do a presentation in the next meeting, so they'll be there as well. The mayor mentioned about the sound on Cablevision, absolutely correct. Cablevision is looking into it. There must be something at the head end, and they said hopefully they'll be able to give us some kind of response by Friday.
Okay.
So that's my updates. Thank you.
Mayor, can I make one comment? In relation to the street sweeping, can we somehow put it out on the electronic sign?
Yep.
Because I think it's critical that people are off the roads that day, because it's not easy for,
We could do a code red too,
Yeah.
just to remind them,
Yep.
the day before.
Yep.
And then I will follow up. I did hear back from the Public Service Commission about the polls also. They had some information too, so. We're moving, it's moving. That's
Yeah.
the key. It's moving along. So, all right, any comments from the floor?
Just wanted, sorry. Lisa Wenz, 206 Tate Avenue. I just wanted you to think about when it comes to the pool, the kiddie pool, the age group that you want the pool to be for. Because
Mhm.
those mushrooms are kind of big and the water falls down. And the really young ones probably don't want that falling all over them. It might be nice to have like the little waterfall things or one spot in the corner where water could come down on them, but think about the age group of the children.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the floor?
Nobody said anything, but are you conferring with Jackie on that pool? No
Well,
one mentioned her
we-
name,
we-
so it was like, but you are,
We are gonna want the rec
The rec
committee
also.
involved as well.
okay.
So, yeah.
She knows about it.
She's aware of it.
Well, I know she probably knows about it. I'm just saying, but nobody said anything, so it's like, just wanted to make sure
Yep.
she wasn't left out.
No, she's not.
Thanks, Eileen. Okay, if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for personnel and negotiations.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone for coming.
thanks, everyone.